What's up guys, it's Nikki with the Farmhouse Full, and today I'm gonna hit you with our homeschooling daily schedule. We've gotten to a really good routine if everybody does what they're supposed to be doing, which isn't every day, but it's going pretty well. And I'm gonna share that with you. You guys have been asking for this. I posted something over on Instagram and asked you if you'd rather have this or my favorite homeschool product, and you said this one you want first, but you want both of them. So I will be doing a homeschool product, kind of like the products that I have used over the years that I just feel like I have to have. Now there's not a lot you have to have, but that I really like to have. So I'm gonna be doing a video about that soon, but you guys really wanted to see this one first, so I thought I would share this with you. And I know even after homeschooling for 14 years, 13 years, 14 years, something like that, I still enjoy looking at other people's schedules just to get ideas because my life is ever changing. So my homeschool schedule looks totally different than it did even 2 or 3 years ago. You guys can go back and watch my old homeschool daily routine or daily schedule videos, and you can see that it's changed a lot. Sometimes I was pregnant, sometimes I had a newborn, sometimes I had a toddler and a newborn, sometimes I had a junior high student or a high school student. So it's changed and evolved over the years. And each year I reassess my needs and then I make a schedule based on my needs and what time I actually have. So I'm gonna go through with you my just normal daily schedule with you. Hopefully I'm gonna get some B-roll this week and I'll be able to put some clips in of what I'm actually doing, but not all my kids are keen on being on video. So we'll see what I can do with that one. So let's just get started, shall we? So normally I wake up at 6, although lately I've not been too great at that. It's cold in the mornings and I don't want to get out of bed, and so sometimes I sleep a little bit later and then I kick myself for it because it always feels good to be up before the kids and have a cup of coffee in and to make my to-do list. So that's usually what I do in the morning. Usually I get up out of bed, I head downstairs in my jammies. I would love to be one of those people that like gets up and puts their clothes on right away, but I'm just not. I do it sometimes and it makes me feel good, but naturally that just doesn't come to me. So I go downstairs and I have my cup of coffee. I pour myself a cup of coffee. If the wood stove needs to be fed or started, if my husband hasn't done that, I will do that. And then I will sit down on the couch and start going through a couple things. Some of the things I will do my email. So I will go through and just throw away and trash all my junk emails. And you guys, the amount of emails that I get in a day through my business account, my private account, my spam account, and my crochet account is insane. And it overwhelms me if I don't do this on a regular basis. So I try to do that daily, and that's just simply just throwing things away. There's maybe 2 emails in the whole bunch that really need my attention. Otherwise, it's just garbage, which is why it's just a pain. I feel like don't ever reach out to me on email and expect a fast return of anything, because emails to me have become like spam in the snail mail. It just, I throw everything away. So I go through my emails, I will take my planner out. I am still using my Filofax. I will link that video up here. It's just I think it's the Malden in ochre, I think. Love that. It's the personal size. Gosh, it's been a long time since I told you guys the details on that. Same planner that I'm using, same way that I print out pages. I'll put that video up here, how I print pages out myself, so I never buy inserts for it. I basically take that and I will write a little Post-it note to-do list for that day and stick it on the day that goes on there, because I don't have the room in my Filofax to actually write out everything that I need to do on the date. I basically save my Filofax date portions for like youth group time for our kids, appointments that I've got, when I'm gonna do grocery shopping, when I have to be somewhere, when we have a birthday party scheduled, that kind of thing. And then I will fill in what happened during that day as well. That's helpful for me just because at the end of the day, if I go back, I can remember, okay, well, you know, I have stuff like Georgia broke her finger. So I remember like what day it was, so that when we go to the doctor to take her cast off or whatever, I know what day it actually happened. It just triggers my memory. So I kind of use it as a very light journal of what happened, or my appointments and schedules for future stuff. So I will write my to-do list on a little Post-it note and stick it on that day, and just leave my planner open on the little console table behind the couch just so that it's there and accessible. And I always write things on it like AM school, PM school, if I want to work out that day, and what we're having for dinner. And then that way it gives me something to cross off if I get nothing else accomplished but those basic things. So I write my to-do list out, and then usually around 7 o'clock, I will go upstairs and I will get myself dressed. I will put makeup on. And when I am finished with that, I will start waking the kids up. So by 7:30-ish, our kids are usually awake and we start breakfast. Now, if breakfast is something that takes a while in the oven or the prep time's a lot, I will have my kids go ahead and start their morning chores at that point. But if it's just something quick that I can throw together, or I've already prepped the stuff for earlier or the night before, we will eat breakfast first and then they will do their chores. But sometime between 7:30 and 8:30, we are eating breakfast and doing our morning chores. Now, each of my kids has a house task or a family task that they do that is directly helping the household out, and then pretty much everything else is just their normal hygiene, cleaning up their room, brushing their teeth, putting away their laundry, getting themselves ready for the day. And then of course they have that one chore, and that's anywhere from, like, one of my sons takes out all the trashes in our house, another one cleans up the living area, my daughter vacuums the rug and does the litter box, my other daughter does the outdoor litter box and feeds all the animals. My other daughter does like livestock chores, so we have a bunny and 21 chickens and that kind of stuff. So everybody has like a household chore that benefits the entire house, and then personal hygiene chores. So at 8:30, or roughly at 8:30, so I tell my kids that 8:30 is the very earliest that we're gonna start school, so they have to be ready by 8:30. I don't always start at 8:30. Sometimes it's 8:45. There's been days that it's 9 because just life happens. Because usually while they're doing chores, I'm also doing my chores, so I'm making beds, making sure that my 4-year-old's getting dressed, helping out my 6-year-old with her chore, and, you know, just weaving in and out of the kids. And if I didn't get dressed, that's the time that I'm trying to get my makeup on and get dressed, on top of, you know, keeping and supervising everybody else. So sometimes that 8:30 gets pushed to 8:45 or 9, but I try to start every day at 8:30. So at 8:30, I was having a big problem with my kids. We'd get together at 8:30, and then somebody would get up to get coffee, and then somebody would get up to get markers, because usually we do our read aloud in the morning first. And it was becoming a huge distraction. And so even if we started at 8:30, we wouldn't actually have any work completed at all until closer to 9. Like, we weren't even starting. And you know, if you have a large family, if one person gets up in a distraction and then somebody else is distracted while they're up because they're waiting on this person, then everybody else gets distracted. So you kind of have to do some kind of classroom management with that many kids in one room, trying to get them all on the same page, especially at different ages. So I just devised a detention system. So love it or hate it, I don't need any hate mail on this. What I do is I ring the bell. So I have this huge loud bell in the kitchen that I have for dinner. I ring that bell, and then I set my Alexa timer. I just say, Alexa, set the timer for 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, they can get up and get coffee, grab markers, because I allow them to color or draw while we're reading in the morning. The little kids can grab any small toy that they have, because my 4- and 6-year-old, I still allow them to have like Legos or something to have their hands busy while we're reading. And they're allowed to get all of that in that 5 minutes. But when that bell rings, when that timer goes off after 5 minutes, if they are not sitting down ready to dig in, I give them a detention. And basically a detention is whenever we stop school, which is around 3 o'clock, I will have them sit, and they have 2 options. They can either sit for a half an hour, or if it's like an ongoing problem, like if it's something we've had day after day, I've said I'd make it an hour. I haven't had to do that yet, I don't think, but it's a half an hour. So I have them sit for a half an hour at the dining room table. They're not allowed to have their media time at that point, which usually they are, so they're missing out on their media time. They sit down at the dining room table and can get up after a half an hour. They can get up early if they choose to write neat sentences that says, I will be on time to school, and they have 2 pages of those. So if they want to put that effort in and write those sentences out, and it only takes them 20 minutes to do that, then they can get up at that point. But they do have to be in neat handwriting and spelled correctly. So that's something that I require. So they can change it out for that if they want to really get up, if they're motivated to not sit there for the whole half hour. So that is our detention system. So at 8:35, if we are on time, that bell rings and everybody's sitting down. And every day we start the day with the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody's in the living room. I have everybody stand up. I'll have one of my older kids or even one of my little kids lead the pledge. So hand over our heart. We have a flag in our living room. We have a flag in our dining room, and we have one outdoors. So depending on where we're doing school, these days we're doing it in our living room because the wood stove's in there, and that's where most of our heat for our home comes, and it's cozy and warm, and it's just nice to be in there when it's cold outside. So we usually start our school day in that room. So we say our pledge, and then we go into
our morning devotions, which we use Streams in the Desert for Kids.
History. So we'll either do a lesson in history, and we're using the Good and the Beautiful History Year 2. Absolutely love it. But that's only 2 days of history per week. So we do history 2 days a week. And then the other 2 days we're doing our read aloud for history. So we either do a history or we do our read aloud. And usually when we do a read aloud, we do a chapter or two, depending on how long it takes. So I read for about 30 minutes. Same time it would take us to get through about one history lesson if we were doing history instead. So after history, we move on to our loop study. So our loop study is basically every day of the week, we have something planned. So Mondays, see if I can remember this. Mondays and Wednesdays are our unit study, which is just our extra study. Right now we're doing a Bible study called My Brother's Keeper, and we will do that on Monday and Wednesdays. On Tuesdays, we do art. On Thursdays, we do our MEL Science experiments, and I have a free starter kit for you guys if you guys want to get in on that. They're chemistry experiments for 10 years and above. They also have a kids kind of kit that they do as well that my younger kids absolutely adore. So I will leave both those links down below if you guys want to grab those. I am an affiliate with that, so I do get a small kickback from it, but we actually love it and use it, like I said, every single week. So if you guys are interested in getting started on that, I will leave that link down below. So that's our loop. So basically every day, depending on what day it is, during that time after our history or our read aloud, we do that subject. For art, we just use YouTube videos. I have an art DVD curriculum that I bought years ago that occasionally we'll throw in there. But this year we've been really loving Kids Art Hub, Let's Make Art, which is like a watercolor tutorial. And there's a few other channels on YouTube. I will link some of those down below, but we really love those. I'm not affiliates with any of those. I just really like them. So we're just doing a like free-for-all art this year. And usually here lately, I've been trying to line it up with whatever we're learning in history. So when we were learning about Vikings, we drew a Viking. When we were learning about ancient Chinese culture and all that stuff, we drew a Chinese dragon. So I try to line it up. But if I can't, I will usually do something that has to do with the season, or I asked my kids what they wanted to draw, and I have a bank. So if I ever have a week where I'm like, I don't know what to draw, I can take from whatever they have already given me that they want to do. All right, so after that, we are done with our group study. So that is all of my kids combined from 4 to 15 we sit together for that time. And about that time, we break off into independent studies, which means my older 3, which is 7th, 8th, and 11th? No, 7th, 8th, and 10th, sorry. 7th, 8th, and 10th will go off on their own and start their independence. And that's science, Spanish, math, language arts. They will break off and do that independently. And while they are doing that, I will take the K through 6ers. So that would be my preschooler gets on this too, because he's just sitting with us at that point. So my preschooler, and I don't care if he is really involved, he can play on the floor. My preschooler, my 1st grader, and my 2nd grader will all sit around, and my 5th grader. We'll all sit around our kitchen table and we will do our science. Right now, you guys, I have a heck of a time with science. We are just going through books. We actually just finished up. I've gone back and forth on the Good and the Beautiful Science, but we really loved the unit we did. I tried Nueo. It just didn't fit with us. I went back to do the Good and the Beautiful because I had some packets of theirs, and we really loved the meteorology. I think before I was trying to do it with too wide of an age group, and I couldn't make it work. So now that I'm only doing preschool through 5th, and there's not as, it's a little bit easier to do, so it makes it more doable. So I may switch back to one of their kits again. Right now we're just going through animals, and so we're just finishing up on snakes. So after science, then I sit and work directly with my younger kids while my 5th grader goes off on her independent studies, and that is her math, her handwriting, and her reading. So she will do all of that on her own while I work independently with Cora. So Cora is my first grader. So I will sit Cora down with her handwriting, language arts, and math, and I will do that with her all together, while my second grader, which is Ezra, will sit down with his ABC Mouse. So we use ABC Mouse on the iPad, and this is not a sponsored video, though. Heck, ABC Mouse, you want to sponsor me? I'm up for it. So he will do his ABC Mouse. I give him about 15 to 20 minutes on that, however long it takes me to get through the majority of Cora stuff. And then I let my preschooler actually come up here to my room and watch an educational video. I always, for the longest time, would feel guilt-ridden or feel like I shouldn't be doing that, but he doesn't get much TV. It saves us. He can be a terror sometimes, especially at that point when he is just done listening, and he loves it. So he will come up here, and for about a half an hour, I have my TV where it actually will shut off after a half an hour. And at that point, I'm done with my first student and I'm switching to my second student. So after Cora is done with all of her independent stuff, or I'm sorry, with her stuff that she does with me, I will swap her out. So she will go on to ABC Mouse, and Ezra will come and sit down with me, and we will do our language arts and our math. And usually by the end of the math, I can kind of scoot away because he knows what he's doing, and I can just check back in, and then he can do handwriting all up by himself. So I only have to sit with him for a little bit. And then at that point, when everybody else is done, we're ready for lunch. It's usually about noon, and we break for lunch. From lunch, we break from noon to 1 o'clock, and sometimes a little bit later because you guys know how it goes. So during that time, we make lunch, eat lunch, clean up lunch, and do our lunchtime chores. Everybody has a chore that they do for the family at lunchtime, whether it has to do with helping clean up lunch, or if it's just a family chore like picking up the basement, straightening up the living room, that kind of stuff. So that gets done. And then we come back to books at 1 o'clock. Now at 1 o'clock, I have my oldest, who is Maddie. She's 15, she is my sophomore. She will actually come up here and read to my first, second, and kindergartner up here. And then she will take my preschooler, Cypress, who's 4, to his room. Cora will go to her room. And then since my second grader and my preschooler share a room, it's quiet time and I don't want anybody playing together. I want everybody to have some time to rest and relax. He will actually stay in here with a small toy, and that's no TV, no media, no nothing. It's just quiet time. She comes up here at 1. She usually reads for about 15 minutes, and then they know when that clock turns 2, if they're not asleep, they may come downstairs. And during that time, I work on language arts with Georgia and Michael and Faith, because Michael and Faith, who are my 7th and 8th grader, have language arts together. So I will do language arts with Georgia while my 7th and 8th grader read, and then we'll swap. I will do language arts with my 7th and 8th grader, and then Georgia will read. And by that time, it's usually about 2:15, 2:30. All my little kids have already made their way downstairs if they haven't fallen asleep, which they don't usually this day. And we're done. Now, sometimes it goes a little bit longer. Sometimes it goes a little shorter if we're having a great day. And then at the end of that day, once my 2:30 has come and I'm done with everybody, I will administer any tests that need to be given at that time. So if somebody needed a science test or a language arts test or a history test or whatever it may be, I will give those at that point. I will bring that child in, have them sit at the bar with me, administer that test, and then I will grade everything for that day that I need to grade. Sometimes I will grade tests, sometimes I will just grade some of the self-tests that we do in Alpha Omega, and sometimes it's just going through their work and making sure they're where they should be. Because my 7th, 8th, and 10th grader all have their own schedules, and they are required to look at their schedule and know where they're supposed to be on a daily basis. But I do check in to make sure that they're actually doing that, because #real life, real kids. So anyway, that's the end of our school day. And then usually by about 3 o'clock, I am done. And I plug into my little kids. We go outside. I'll come up, sneak up here, which I'm doing right now. It's 3:10, 3:11, and I will film a short video or do some work. And then we have some free time, which includes the kids' media time, have dinner, clean up dinner, do baths, bedtime routine, and the day is done. So that is a little sneak peek of my day. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any questions, I will put a link to an Instagram post that goes with this, because you guys, my comments are still turned off, go figure. So that if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them there. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye, guys.